software project management is ultimately about combining the facilities of project management with software, and that is ultimately what becomes software project management. Now, the next question here is, before I tell about something, I have to explain to you, why do we need it? Now, this is where I'll take some help from Professor Lambert. Professor Lambert, sir, I'm sure this is a generic question, sir. Now, you obviously are a senior faculty member. You must have handled hundreds of projects in your lifetime as both personally and professionally, sir. Can you help me out a bit here? Why do you think project management is necessary, and what could happen, sir, if it is not in place?
Well, many decades ago, project management really wasn't a thing. It wasn't like a major that you could get into a university. And when I saw it appear, I was like, this is perfect. We always needed project management, because that's what it all boils down to. Is you've got projects, and how are you going to manage these things? You really need that expertise to really apply the knowledge. I think project management is one of the greatest new majors ever.
Thank you, Professor Lambert. So, guys, I'll give you a simple example. Like whenever you have something going on, like a government project, because you read it in the news and everything. Like someone says they'll build a metro and it'll be launched by, I don't know, January 2023. But then there'll be an update somewhere, like a notification that, hey guys, the project has been delayed by 6 months or 1 year or something. See, that is what we talk about project management. So project management is about a lot of activities, like setting goals, dividing the goals into specific steps, and then setting a due date for those steps, okay? And finally, assigning people to those steps. And of course, keeping track of who is doing what and when are they supposed to finish. So these are the kind of questions you always have when you're working on a project. And the thing is, the bigger and more complex a project is, more people are involved, more dates are involved, more teams are involved, and then more documentation is involved. Now, ultimately, the thing is, when so many things are happening, how exactly will a manager, get all this data at his fingertips? Okay, so this is the reason why we really need project management. Because if you don't have it, a simple question like, let's say somebody is trying to build a software. So let's say we are all trying to build Zoom, and then we notice that a common problem which happens in Zoom sometimes is, even it happened here as well. We sometimes forget to switch off the microphone, and we have everyone talking all kind of random things, and that is always there. So then what happens is, someone at Zoom may have realized many years ago, before Zoom became popular, you know what, guys, we need to give the admin people some kind of a option where they can disable the microphone when the main speaker is speaking, and let them control when to enable it, either enable it for the entire group like we do at the end of workshops, so we can all say our goodbyes, or allow only a single person to speak. So at some point in the Zoom history, somewhere in the Zoom company, they would have said, folks, we need that as a feature. Now, suddenly that feature gets added to their project goal. So now have a specific goal, like we should be able to do, okay, mute everybody, mute a specific person, unmute a specific person, unmute everybody, and so on and so forth. So these things become like a list of things they have to achieve. And then what happens? The teams are being formed. So you have a project. The project goal is now to add mute and unmute features to the project. And suddenly you find somebody in the Zoom company, and he's going to be like the project manager. So that person is responsible to ensure that this feature gets added. Now, what is the next thing that person he will do? He will go ahead and find everybody in the company who can help him with audio specific development, because in a company such as Zoom, they may have many developers, but not everyone may have the specific skill set needed to deal with audio related features. So what is going to happen is, they'll go ahead and find developers who are needed for audio specific coding. And again, project management, right? So all these details get added to the project management software. And then the manager realizes, hey, wait a second, we need some audio encryption related developer, and we don't have that in the entire company. So again, the manager is going to say, okay, we need to hire 2 developers, and the message gets sent to the human resource team or something. So this is exactly what happens in a project, guys. So those of you who already managed a project, now It doesn't have to be in a company. Maybe you're organizing like a party in your home. Maybe you're organizing like a, a funeral, that also is like a project, right? Or a birthday party, right? So again, that's like a project. So you have your notebook or something. Some people use a ledger or something, jot down everything that needs to be done. Who's going to take care of the food? Who's going to take care of inviting the guests? Who's going to take care of transportation? Who's going to take care of any money problem that happens? So stuff like that. So all this, when you have any kind of event, when you have any kind of something happening, you sit down, you're going to make a note. So that is what we really is called project management. And usually the idea is there's one guy in the top, the project manager, who needs to have access to all this information. So like, again, going back to everyday life, you're organizing a party or something. One person is usually there at the top as the main party organizer. And that person usually will go ahead and maybe have a notebook or something, a pen with them all the time, jotting down details of everything that is happening. So everybody else who's helping that person will give the details. So one person is responsible for getting the cake ready on time. So that person's details will be noted down in the ledger. Another person is responsible for building the guest list and contacting the guest and helping him out with things like location, dates, timing, scheduling, and things like that. So there you go, folks. So even if you're not in a company or something, even if you're not a software person, you still might have done some sort of project management in your life. And you will see why it is so important to have project management for a software developer. One more thing I want to add here before I kind of maybe check if there are any questions or something is, whenever you're, those of you who are in or about to enter a university for computer science education or going through a computer science education, one thing I'll tell you is when I was younger, when I was going through my own university computer science education, something told me that, not to brag or anything, but I always found people putting me in a leadership position, whether I like it or not. Like, Jay, you know what? Why don't you handle this? Even at home, when something is complex, they'll come and say, Jay, why don't you take care of this? You're kind of strict. You know how to use a notebook. You know how to document everything. You're very good at bookkeeping. Why don't you handle this complex task? And we will listen to what you say till the work is completed. So what I did was, as my engineering education, in India, it's a 4-year degree of computer science education. As I was finishing my 3rd year and about to go to 4th year, everybody in the class was planning for placements, getting into an IT company. But I was kind of getting ready to, join an MBA. And I did join an MBA immediately after my engineering graduation, because something told me that, once I finish my engineering, if I become a developer, I'll just be a developer. But I didn't want that. I'm good at managing people. I'm good at communicating. I have the brain capacity to handle complex tasks. So I did an MBA immediately. And by the time I finished my MBA, and within a few years, I had become like a project manager in IT companies working on multiple projects. So that is another thing I want to add here. If some of you are thinking, hey, you know what? I am doing software development. Why should I learn project management? It's really not necessary. But some of you may have a more ambitious goal. Why should you just be a developer? Why not just become the boss of other developers? It's a responsibility. And don't forget, the more responsibilities you have, the more money you make. And you keep hearing about all these things like layoffs and economic contraction and all that. Very rarely do managers get fired, because even if people get fired, somebody still has to manage them. So there you go. That's another way to shield yourself from all kind of economic effects. So you used to move up the corporate ladder. You keep hearing about this, right? The glass ceiling or whatever ceiling it is. The faster you get yourself promoted, the more higher you are in the hierarchy, the less likely you are going to get fired or something like that. So for all these many reasons, I sincerely believe project management is totally necessary. Before I go to the next topic, Professor, if you have any questions, anybody have any questions, anything you want to add here, sir?
From what I see, I don't see any questions yet.
Okay.
Just
All right then.
Regular comments. They're flowing with you.
Okay. All right then. So in that case, guys, there you go. So that is what we call project management. And now let's go ahead and find out how a software can help if this is what you're trying to do. So when you try to get into software project management, how can a software help you? So for this, let's take an example of something from every day, something that all of us use. And I'm going to go with a simple example of emails. All right. Now, by now, everyone take emails for granted. Like whenever somebody from Professor Lambert's team has to let me know, like, some new workshop is coming or whatever else happens, I get an email or something, and then I kind of cooperate with them and so on and so forth. Of course, not everything happens on email. We have chat, we have other ways to communicate these days, but I'm just going to assume that, let's say, everything is happening on email. Now, let's go back to a scenario where email did not exist, like before the 90s or 80s or something. So how did it happen? So whenever you have to send something or communicate something, ideally you would go ahead and send out like a letter, like an actual letter. You would have an address, you would write down your letter on a piece of paper or something, send it over a courier or a post office, depending on where you are, and the letter reaches the person. And that may take 2-3 days, 1 week, we don't know. And then the other person replies back to it. So that is how communication used to happen in the olden days. But then, hold on, so now we have email. Okay, and when I say now, I'm talking 90s, of course, now everybody knows about email. So email does exactly the same thing. The whole thing about letters, you have an address, you have an email address, and then you write what you want to do. You write the same thing on your email. Again, email means electronic mail, electronic letters, so it's right there in the word, and then you send it. Now, unlike a regular letter, this one goes almost immediately. So if I send Professor Lambert an email, if he's at his desk, he will get the email immediately. And then if he wants to, he can reply to it. He can attach documents. He can attach digital files. So everything happens smooth. In a real life letter, something might get damaged, it might get lost, or things like that. And let's not forget the time taken. And there's one more thing though. What if me and Professor Lambert are working on something and we need to communicate constantly, but we are doing it by letters? Things could take really long time. A lot of times I might just be waiting for hours and days just to wait to see what Professor Lambert might say. So there you go. That's the delay we are talking about. And one more thing. What if it's not just me and Professor Lambert working? What if it is all of us in the Zoom room? We are all trying to figure something out, work on a product, and we are all trying to do that on letters or something. It's going to be a colossal mess and things will never happen. And there you go. So take that example, letters with email, and how easy everything happens with an email, and apply that to project management. So ultimately what I'm talking about is, I'm going to go ahead and stop the presentation and get myself a whiteboard here, just to give you an idea how a project management software will help you. So I'm going to stop the sharing now. I'll bring it back up. I'll go ahead and bring up the whiteboard, and this, okay, so think about this, my dear students. So you have here at the center, you have the project manager. And what is the project manager trying to do here? This person is trying to do everything from setting goals and building the team with all sorts of people, okay? And then, of course, setting deadlines, okay? And then this person is also responsible for allocating resources. Okay, I'm trying to draw with the mouse, folks, so it's gonna be a little bit dull. Sorry about that, but I hope you can still make it out. And finally, clarifying things to all the team members. Okay, a standard project manager is at any given point of time doing everything from setting goals, hiring people for the team, setting deadlines, putting up due dates, and allocating resources, acquiring resources, and of course, clarifying any questions the team members might have. Now, if this was being done, like without a central repository, without a software, then there's a great possibility that things might get muddled and lost. Okay, a simple example is, suppose in the team there are 3 people. So we have a team member here. Okay, let's call him 0, and another team member here, let's call him 1. So let's say team member 0 has asked for, I don't know, 5 computers, all right? So team member 0 has asked for 5 computers. Now project manager is responsible for allocating resources. And then the project manager asks this another team member, number one, to go ahead and purchase the 5 necessary computers. Now, let's say this is on Monday, okay? And then the team number one is very enthusiastic. That person is very enthusiastic. He goes ahead and purchases the computer on Monday itself, and that work is done. However, something happened on Monday, and that person forgets to inform the project manager that the computers are purchased. And bad luck, on Tuesday, he falls sick. Now, the problem here is he's already purchased the computer, but he's just that he forgot to send an email or something to the project manager. The computers are ready, and then Tuesday he has fallen sick. Now here what happens, the project manager might be under the impression that normally it takes 5 days to buy the computer. So he's not worried, or he does not follow up or something. And then Wednesday, he realizes that the computers are ready, right? The person number one has already purchased the computers, but nobody else knows about it. See, this would happen when you don't have a project management software. All right. Now let's take the same scenario and try to picture it, the magic of how a software, project management software, can make the whole thing really awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and clear it up. So imagine the scenario, lack of communication, lack of update because everything is being done manually, maybe with a ledger or email or something, right? Now let's do the same drawing again. Well, actually not the same drawing because I do need all the other things. So I'm just going to go ahead and undo some arrows here. So there we go. Okay. So this is again the situation. No ledgers, no notebooks. We are using a software. So what happens here is the project manager, this guy here, person number one, he goes ahead and updates to the software. Now, this is the biggest difference here. In the previous scenario, no software, things were being done directly, maybe with email or something like that. But in the software, person number 0 goes ahead and informs the software, not the manager. Okay. I hope everyone is getting that. Professor Lambert, are you getting that, sir? In the previous scenario, the message was sent to the person. It was being done manually. But in the new scenario with the software, the message is sent to the software. Now, what
does everybody in the team have access to that information?
Exactly, Professor. Exactly. So it's like, like all of us are in a Zoom session, right? So we are all logged in. So similarly, everybody is logged in as a member to the software management software, right? So there we go. So now, instead of informing the project manager, this team member called 0 updates in the software that she needs 5 computers. Now, what does the software do? The software immediately sends a notification, like how you will get a notification on your any other mobile app that you use. So the software will send a notification to the project manager that team member 0 is requesting 5 computers. Now, remember, that part is being done by the software automatically. There is no manual intervention or anything because the project manager is responsible for resource allocation. Then what does the project manager do? He will reply to this notification. So there is a notification. And once again, the project manager tells the software to send a message. Again, everything goes to the software to person number 1 that he is now responsible to go and purchase the 5 computers. So once again, I want all of you to understand this. The project manager talks to the software and the software tells the person responsible that he is now responsible to get the 5 computers. Now, then what happened? This guy here, again, the same enthusiastic person, he goes ahead and purchases the 5 computer. And this is the best part. So what happens is he goes to the shop and he buys the 5 computers. And when he comes back home, in fact, the moment he purchases right there from his mobile phone, because everything is mobile these days, he sends a message to the software or just adds a note saying that the 5 computers have been purchased. The task has been completed. So he just updates it on the phone, not to the project manager, not to anybody else. He simply updates the software that the 5 computers have been purchased. So that task has been done on the same day. And then he falls sick. But it doesn't matter though, because when the project manager comes home to, comes to office the next day, the computer software is ready with another notification. So Tuesday morning, the project manager logs in and there's a notification waiting for him, telling him that, hey, you know what? Yesterday's request for resources, the guy number one, he's gone to the shop and he sent a message saying that the 5 computers have been purchased. And again, the project manager, what does he do? He passes on the message, he approves the message because he's the project manager. He updates this request here again to the software. And now this person number 0, she gets a notification from the software, not from the manager. Again, the manager is not involved here. Everything goes to the software. So the person number 0, she gets a notification Tuesday morning, as soon as the message is approved by the project manager, that the computers are ready and she can collect it. So there you go, folks. I hope this example tells you, with a very simple example, how by routing every activity, I'm talking everything, guys. When I show you the software, I told you I'll show you before I wrap up the workshop, I'll show you the software we use every day on a daily basis. Because everything is being routed by the software, and the software runs in the cloud, which means just like Zoom, some of you are joining in from your mobile phone. I'm logging in from my PC and from my iPad as well. Some of you, if you don't have a computer, you can log in from just your regular phone as well, right? You can do that too. So all the project management softwares, they live on the cloud. So people can access it from their tablets, Android phones, mobile phones, whatever they have from anywhere in the world. And whatever message they send, it gets transferred to who is supposed to get a message all over the company, all over the organization. So this is the fantastic role that a project management software plays. Now, we only took one example, guys. In a single day, I've been project manager on countless projects. It is a massive responsibility. Even in a small team with 5 people, 10 people, there are hundreds of messages being transferred across hundreds of tasks. All right. And all the notifications get sent without any problems, without any failure. Everything is documented. So for example, like one thing I do, I'll show you again is, for example, due dates, right? So let's say as you grow, every day you work, every day you're adding new tasks, and each of them has a due date. So all this is connected to the calendar. So every day when I open the calendar as a project manager, I'll get a bird's eye view as to which task is due today, which task is due 1 week from now, which task is overdue and why is it overdue. The software tracks of everything, and every task has a person responsible, a reporting manager, a reporting developer. Everything is linked. There's no way to escape from this. The software tracks everything, which means human errors will happen, human delays will happen, but at least you will not miss something due to a lack of communication. You may have heard of this thing called accountability. Whenever, a big problem with people is, including all of us, I'm sure, is that when something goes wrong, we don't want to accept it. The first response is, okay, I messed up, but prove it. Now, the best thing about a software management, software is that the data is there to prove that somebody messed up. At least if something goes wrong, we know who to hold responsible. I'm not saying that's the whole point of the software. At least the idea is to cut down on things being messed up. So I hope this scenario explained to everybody in the audience how project management software can really help you, document and streamline the whole thing and get everything done on time and faster. So ultimately, guys, like with everything else, what is the goal of software project management? I mean, ultimately, what is the goal of any management? The goal of any management is you have a task, you have something that needs to be done, and you get it done on time. That's what management is. When somebody says, hey, this guy is a good leader, hey, this guy is a good manager, what are they trying to say? They're trying to say, like, what, I was supposed to get that shipment done on July 28th. It got done on July 28th. That was supposed to be done on May 1st. It was done before May 1st. Isn't that what management is all about? So there we go, guys. That is what a management software does. It helps you, the person responsible for a project, to get things done on time by communicate everything that is happening in your organization, in your project, with everybody membership, all the members, communication flow. So there you go, guys. That is really what a software project does. I'm going to give you a little more details, but I'm just going to check with Professor Lambert here. So any questions for anybody else?
There's a really interesting question here about, oh, I just missed it. Project management software works, where'd it go? Project management software would potentially replace project managers? Do we need project managers or software management software?
Yes. So that's the thing, Professor. Now, to answer the question, I'll use a very simple example. Let's say you want to go from here to the airport. You need a car, and the car usually comes with a driver. So I mean, unless one day people can figure out to replace the driver with AI or a robot or something, you must assume that the project management software is primarily to help a manager do his job, not to replace it. Any other questions, Professor? Before I go on to the next part, yes, of course.
I'm looking. What about planning a new project with Trello?
Yes, that's where
You're
I'm
probably going to get to that, right?
Yeah, that's where I'm going now. Yes.
Oh, here's a good question.
Yes.
Is the project management software linked to a budget of a project? Because the allocation of the resources start from the budget.
Yes. So folks, the thing about is, just like how, like, for example, I'm not going to, again, use Zoom as an example. See, guys, if this was a personal call or something, like we're all talking about a party or something, we can simply use the free version of Zoom. The free version of Zoom allows, I think, some 100 people to join and speak without any problems for 30 minutes or 40 minutes or something. But of course, this is an organization professional version of Zoom, which is why all of you are able to come and I can speak for more than 40 minutes and stuff like that. So similarly, the software that I'm talking about, it's there on the board right now. Trello is free, just like how you can use Zoom for free with limitations. So if you're a small business person, if you're just a student, you're doing something small scale, there is no need to budget anything for Trello. I think that answers the question, Professor Lambert, or does it, sir? I think so. Okay, it does answer. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Yes.
It is free, guys. Just like everything, like email. I'm sure nobody's paying any money for email. So similarly, Trello, if you're just doing a small scale thing with 10 or 20 members or something, you shouldn't face any limitations with the free version. But obviously, you'll have like annoying limitations. Like for example, whenever I'm talking to a friend or something, I do use Zoom, and we are about to say something really important. We forget that 40 minutes are up, and the Zoom ends. It's annoying, but it is what it is. If you really want to have those long conversations, I can always pay money to Zoom and get the premium version and all that. But again, everyday conversations, who want to spend money, it's okay. We'll just create another Zoom link, right? Same thing with Trello. So there'll be some annoying limitations. But then again, if you start hitting those limitations, you probably have a good business, right? I mean, so you can definitely pay some money to Trello. So those of you who are doing small things, Trello is free. Those who are running a company or something, it's a small price to pay for peace of mind. So there you go, guys. I hope that answers your question about budgeting things for Trello itself. That is important though. So I guess somebody's listening to me. So that's good, Professor Lambert. So that is good. All right, guys, so what is Trello then? So I've given you a explanation about what is project management, what is software, how it helps your career. I will give you a simple example how software project management can help you make things better. Now, I told you all the theory, I've explained the concept. I must give you at least one example. Like some of you are thinking, okay, this sounds exciting, Jay, or it may be exciting for the future of your career. And so which software do you see? That's the thing about anything in life, isn't it? So when you want to do something, you have to pick your weapon of choice. For example, I'm talking to Professor Lambert here. I always make sure when I'm doing a presentation or a class or something, I always use my iPad because my audio is very clear. I look good. The camera on the iPad is good. so I look good. So I always choose the iPad for my, workshops and things like that. So that is my weapon of choice. If I'm not doing like a workshop or something, I'm having a casual call, I won't use the iPad. I'll use my laptop's camera. You know how laptop cameras are, they're very terrible. They make you look like a hobo. So I don't want to do that. So there you go, guys. Depending on the situation, you use a specific software or hardware. So for software project management, I am recommending Trello. Okay, so Trello, there are many such brands. If you guys want to know like what are the other brands, one is Trello, the one I'm talking about. Another one is called Airtable. Okay, so if some of you are making notes, there is another brand called Airtable. One more brand from the same company that makes Trello. For some reason, the company that makes Trello has another software that is called Jira, Jira. So you have Trello, the one which I like. I'll explain why I like Trello in a minute. You have Airtable. It looks very fancy. It looks very colorful. I like that about Airtable, but I don't use it though. And finally, there's another one called Jira. So these are the three main ones, guys. So those of you who are applying for a job or preparing for a career in software, you must know at least one of this. Even if you don't plan to become a manager, you have to know at least one of this, because you may not be managing projects, you will still be using these things. So you can't escape it. You have to know it. So Trello or Jira, let's not forget they're both from the same company. Why they have two products, that's a topic for another day. Finally, there is Airtable, which is a lot more colorful. And there are a lot of other small brands in different countries. We'll not get into that. So anyway, coming back. So what is Trello? Trello is one of the most popular project management software that you can use. And why do I like it then? So that's the second question. I like it because it is free, all right? And it does everything I want it to do. It's been doing that. I was introduced to Trello way back in 2016. That is the first time I started using it. These things became popular around 2015, 2016. That's when the cloud really exploded. So that's when I was introduced, and I've been using it ever since. The second reason why I like it. And the third reason I like it is because, majority of the people in the world, the software industry, they use it. Okay. It's like the same thing, why would I use an iPad? And it's simple, guys, it has good camera, it has all the apps, it has good battery life. So it's very useful for my work. So same reason Trello. Wherever I go, any client I work for, or new clients, old clients, big project, small project, it is useful for any scenario. It looks very boring. When I show it to you guys, you'll be like, it looks like it's from the 70s or something. I don't know. I don't care about it. I'm very old, so I don't care about looks and all. So I'm fine with it. Maybe the younger kids, they're like, oh, we want Airtable. That's your choice. I'm old. I'm in my early 40s. I'm cool with it. So there you go, guys. That is what Trello is, and that is why I like it. Because it's free, it works everywhere, it's used all over the world. It has free features, it has paid features, and all those things. So that's what is Trello. But as I said, yes, Professor Lambert, you're going to say something, sir.
Yeah, I just want to say that you're building this topic, the importance of it. I would like you to do a part 2 and a part 3 about this, really, because really this particular program, Trello, for project management, is so valuable for everybody. And I think if you could spend a couple of sessions on this, it would be great.
No problem, Professor. I will definitely add it to my list. I'm sure I'm not going anywhere. So when I come back, I'll do a sequel, sir. No problem.
Yeah, because I can already think of so many questions to really expand how to use this. So
I can go into in-depth, sir. Today, I'm going to show a simple demo anyway, but I'll have a sequel for you and make it a trilogy eventually.
Great, Jay.
All right, excellent, guys. Excellent. Thank you, Professor Lambert. So, folks, what are the main features of Trello? Now, the most important thing for any software management software is that it has to be available. See, this is very important, right? Because now, sometimes, look at it from both as a person who is part of a team and from the angle of that of a project manager. Now, a project manager is usually a senior person. He's been in the industry for some time. For example, again, not bragging, me. So look at me. I travel all over the place. I'm in one city today. I'm in another city next month. I don't know if people can see it when you watch all my recordings. You'll see my background changes almost every session because I'm traveling constantly for client meetings and work and all that. So what is going on with me? I have my computers, I have my iPads, I have my mobile phones. I don't know where and how I need to manage my app. So it's very important that the Trello thing, one of the biggest feature I like about Trello is that it is available. It doesn't matter what you're using. You're using a computer, a Linux machine, a Windows machine, an Apple machine, Android phone, iPhone, or some other kind of device. It doesn't matter. The software is available everywhere. So whatever you're supposed to do, you can do it without any big problem. So that is one of its biggest features. Now, of course, you can say that is applicable to every app in the world these days. Yes, but when it started way back in 2016, this was kind of like a groundbreaker for a lot of us because this is so convenient. Now, the next thing I like about Trello is it has something called as cards and boards. Okay, now that I want to talk, but you know how it is. I want to show you and talk. So I'm going to go away from the PowerPoint for a minute. Professor, just give me a minute here. So let me go ahead and bring up example. I created a board just for the session here. I'm going to show you guys. So whatever I'm going to explain, it will be easy if I explain it while I'm showing you what I'm talking about. So where is that? Where is that? There it is, demo Trello board. Okay, guys. So let's go ahead. Professor, are you able to see my screen, sir? It's a different screen now. Okay, excellent, excellent. I got the thumbs up from Professor Lambert there. So there you go, my dear students. You can see on the screen right now, this is what is called a Trello board. Okay, now what is a board? Now a board is literally a board, like you know how I'm sure you guys I don't know if everybody does it, but when I was younger, I used to use Post-its. Professor, you know about Post-its, I'm sure you know those sticky things where you can write. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, yes, the professor is smiling, so you know what I'm talking about. So what I would do is when I was younger, I used to be very energetic. I guess I'm energetic even now, but I'm older now. But so you can imagine how I was when I was younger. So I'm always doing so many things all the time. And a lot of it had nothing to do with my education. So I was just doing things for the sake of it. So I realized, and there was no software back then, you know, I mean, in India, right? I mean, we don't have software, and I was very poor as well. So what I would do is, I can't afford Post-its either. So I would make small sheets of paper and, you know, rice. I don't know if you guys know it. In India, we use rice. So rice is, you know, when we were younger, that was gum for us because there was no money to buy gum either. So we would take small pieces of paper, use rice as a gum, and my entire room would be filled with all these things I would do in a line by line for all the things I'm up to. Many times I got caught because of it, because whatever scheme I'm doing, it was written right there on the wall. But anyway, that's another story. So that's what this is, guys, a board. Every board is for a project. Okay, so this board, it has some dummy things. I use it, you know, I told you guys I work as a consultant for other companies. I teach this to other project managers. So this is like a demo board. So every board is for a project. So if you're working on a single project, you will have one board, okay? But obviously I'm always working on many things. So let me just go to my main Trello. You can see there that I'm working for many, many different organizations. So all of them have a separate board. And you'll see that some of them are like family and life. So that's my personal life board as well. I love Trello so much. I use it to manage my personal life as well. So there you go, guys. So even if you don't work in a company or something, I am telling you, you start using Trello, you will never miss a deadline. Like seriously, personal life, second life, whatever it is, paying bills. Like this workshop, I put a reminder on my personal life that today I have a workshop. It reminds me in the morning. I know today I'm going to be hanging out with Professor Lambert. See, there you go. Everyday life done with Trello. Okay, so if you are really a stickler for professional, people are always saying, you know what, you're like, get your life in order, sort it out. You know, you have so many talents, but you're irresponsible. If your parents are saying that to you every day, and then you have a problem, right? Trello is your solution. So it has advantages for personal life as well. But that's a story for another day. So coming back, so for every project you're doing, you have a board. So there's a board for my personal life. There's a board for something about movies, John Wick movie. I don't want to go into that right now. So there's another project I'm working for a client. It's called Big Baby, Small Baby. I'm working for another client, some called SNK. So there you go, guys. So every project I'm working on, they're all separated because they all have different team members, different data, different deadlines. So that's the first thing about Trello that you need to understand. So you can create multiple boards because all of our lives are complex, right? If you're in university, you're working for something in maybe data structures. Professor Lambert could be handling multiple teams. So he will have separate boards for separate projects. So first thing you want to understand about Trello is boards, okay? Now let's go into the demo board that I created. So Professor Lambert, did you understand the board concept, sir? Is that clear for you? That's the main concept there. Does that make sense, sir?
Yes, that you're going to see all the different parts of the project right there.
Yes, there you go, sir. So you have different projects, different teams. You have one board dedicated for them. Now, once you go inside the board, this is how it looks like, guys. So let me try to zoom in a little bit. Okay, there you go. There you go. So you'll see there on the left side, there's a lot of information. There's right side, there's a lot of information. Left side is more like a list of all the things I have. So I don't need that right now. So let me just, yeah, there you go, guys. So now what do you see here is cards. Okay, so I remember I told you like you have tasks. Every project ultimately is about tasks. So every time you have something to do, like for example, right now, let's say in some fictional universe, imagine me and Professor Lambert are in the same city. We'll be making movie plans all the time. So I'm going to go and say, okay, I'm going to okay, movie plan with Professor Lambert. There you go. I have a plan. I'm going to make it a card. And I'll open the card here and I will say, all right, guys, this week I'm going to watch Oppenheimer and that funny Barbie movie with Professor Lambert. So there you go. So this is how I manage my life, guys. Everything goes into Trello. If my Trello gets hacked, I'm screwed. But anyway, it's okay. So I'm going to make a plan like this. Okay, that's the plan with Professor. And you know what? I want to put a date. So I'm like, okay, I'll watch it with Professor Lambert next week, Thursday. Because Thursday, the cinema theaters are empty, right? Everybody's at office. Professor is going to bunk his college and come with me. So Thursday, I'm going to watch the movie. I'm going to set the time. We're going to watch early morning. I don't want to go at night. So I'm going to make it 11:20 a.m. There you go. So then I'm going to save it. Look at that. It says due date August 3rd. So now, as the day approaches, the software will remind me, hey, you know what? You have to go to the professor with the movie 3 days from now, 2 days from now. And if I forget it, it's going to become like red or something. And it's like, hey, you missed the movie. Oh, no. So there you go, guys. That is how you use cards to put some details.
There was a question before if Trello will actually tell you that you missed something if you didn't acknowledge it or something. Does it send you an email?
It will notify you, Professor. You will get a notification. So you'll get an email. You get a notification on your mobile app if you're using that. So everything will be notified to you, Professor. It has some detailed controls on how much notifications you want. It can become overwhelming. But it depends on how much reminders you want. So software has a lot of controls. But as you said, Professor, you can see it's very in-depth. So we maybe have to do that in the SQL workshop or something. And guys, so that's all I have the time here. Professor said I need to wrap it up with at least 10 minutes for questions and stuff. So I'm going to wrap it up here. If some of you are excited, Professor has said I should do some SQL sessions. I will be doing that. So right now, let me stop here. So there you go, guys. Go to Trello.com. Create an account and just go crazy with it. Just experiment with it, do some stuff, and so on and so forth. And as I said, but yeah, for any questions, go ahead, please. Let me make it full screen again, Professor. Hold on, I don't know how to do that. There it is. I'll remember now. Okay.
What I see on the Trello site is that there's with a free account, you can have up to 10 boards. In your experience, is that enough?
Professor, that's more than enough for I run a small business, Professor, as a one-person consultant. I've never seen, I can't humanly work on more than 10 projects. So I think that is good enough, sir. But don't forget, Professor, if you need more than 10 boards, you can always create a new email address and have as many boards as you want.
Yep.
There's nothing stopping you from using a second email address or a third email address. Guys, any questions? Let me know. Yeah.
Let's see. People are asking to see your presentation, but mostly your presentation is how you're describing each thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As a personal policy, I never put too much on the presentation. I like to keep it simple because ultimately, I believe people are here to see me explain things. So I like to keep it simple, sir. Yes. I don't know how useful the PPT itself be for people because there's not much in it when you think about it.
We should.
If there are no questions, Professor, I can explain a few more things. I still have 8 minutes to kill.
Let's see. I'd like to hear from students who have a project that they're working on and they're not using any software for it, and what kind of experiences they're having. So if there's any students out there who are in projects and you're not using a project management software, raise your hand.
Well, since you brought that up, Professor Lambert, so folks, if you saw the video today and that piqued your interest about using this now, maybe you're not doing it till now, but using it now, then what you should do is, obviously you're part of a team or something, one person, the leader person, sit down today, maybe get one person to help you and go ahead, create an account, create a board, and start adding everything you have done since your project started. So it may take half a day, it may take 1 day. Every step becomes a card, every step. For example, if you're working on a software, then you create a card. Let me, you can show my screen here. So hold on. So let me go ahead and bring up the software window again, 1 second. So if you already have a project you're involved in, then what you'll do is you'll go here, you'll create lists. You'll see here there are many lists, guys. So this is the thing. So in a project, you'll have different streams. So one person might be working on front end. Another person might be working on back end. Another person might be working on a deployment. Another person might be working on documentation. So what you do is you create, let me get my marker here. You'll create different lists for different activities. So go ahead, if you already have a project ongoing, most of your project management is happening in your head. So everything is in your head, right? So the leader person, sit down, divide your project into different related activities. For every related activity, give it a title, create a list. So create another list, create as many lists as you want. One tip here is that normally I always have a list called general, where I put all the general tasks. I always have a list called ongoing. So these are things which are currently being done by different team members. And finally, I have a list called to do, right? So you always know, right? When you have a project, there are a number of things you're planning to do. There are always things which you're doing right now. And obviously, there's going to be a last list called done. So when you start using Trello, guys, minimum 4 type of list. One is a list called general. You can see there on the left side. Second list is called to do, right? Because those are the things you're planning to do maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, maybe next month. And there'll be a list called ongoing. So these are things which your team members are doing right now. And finally, done is everything that has already been done and completed and so on. And the best part is you can move these things around. So let's say I have a movie plan with Professor Lambert. So we actually watched the movie. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and put it on done. So there you go. And there are some people, there's also a list called abandoned. So then one day Professor Lambert is like, Jay, I can't bear to sit with you for more than 2 hours. I'm not coming for the movie. Get lost, Jay. And then I'll be like, oh, so that's so sad, Professor. So I'm going to abandon that. There you go. But I'm not going to abandon you. I'm going to try to convince Professor Lambert that he should totally hang out with me. So there you go. So that was the last thing I thought I'll explain, Professor Lambert. Any other questions?
So then that would go back into the do list. I have to persuade him. That's then the to-do list.
Exactly. I'm gonna create a new card called for you, Professor Lambert.
Exactly. Okay.
I'm gonna start screaming. How can I convince?
We have a great question here from Sarah, where she says the students can use Trello to actually to organize their assignments and even their thesis work.
Exactly. There you go, Professor. So the way I approach is, let me share my screen again here. The best way to use.
Can I ask a quick question about this? Is it possible to,
yes, sir,
to save the information on a project like in a PDF?
Trello
Like a
does
save as
allow you
PDF?
to. Not really, Professor. This whole thing is online, so it stays in the card. I mean, there are ways you can export it, but it's a very complex task, Professor. So unless you have a strong reason or you don't trust Trello for some reason, like it's a cloud thing, what if your account gets hacked or something?
I'm thinking like if a student wants to put in like a thesis proposal and they can show their Trello organization and say, this is how I'm organizing my thesis and the things I'm going to work on and the timelines and everything. We could see it all right there.
That's right, Professor. They can invite, like, for example, let's say a student is started using this for their daily project life and project management, and they want to show it to somebody. One option is screenshots, but a better option is simply invite the professor as a guest to the board. So the professor can log in from wherever they are and look at what the student is doing.
Excellent.
So that's very easy, Professor. Like, you're working in a project, you want to tell your professor what you're up to, just give them access. Let them look at what you're doing on a daily basis. As you do something, they get a notification. It couldn't be simple.
Okay, so you were going to talk about how to use it for assignments?
Yes. So to answer the question about this, guys, the assignment ultimately is again a project, right? So let me bring up my Trello here. So let's say I have an assignment. So what would I do? I'll go to Trello, and then I can just go here and I can simply create a new board. See, I can just create a new board called assignment for August, right? And then you go ahead and create it. So there you go. You now have a new board for the assignment. So I'll start with, assignment details. I'll create a list. I'll create another detail called list of things to do, and then ongoing things, and finally a list for completed. So there you go. And then what you'll do, you'll create a card like assignment main or something, and here whatever your professor sent you, a Word document or whatever, you can just copy paste the whole thing, or if you want to, you can upload the document. Like if there is a Word document, a PDF that your professor sent you, upload it there, and then just go ahead. And then let's say the first thing you have to do is, if you're working on a thesis or something, the first thing you have to do is submit the thesis, right? So you create a card for that. And then here you type whatever you want, blah, blah, blah. And then you say due date is next month, August 8th. So now what do you do? And then the computer will keep reminding you. So every day, let's say your thesis has 5 parts. You're going to go ahead and create a list. Part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5. So there you go. So let's say you sit down this Saturday and you finish part 1 of your thesis. You come here, put a check mark. So you know that you completed 20% of your project. So then again, after Sunday, you sit down the next Wednesday. You finish part 2, put a check mark. So every day you get up, you look at this, and you know for yourself how much is done. So hopefully you divide your work into 5 parts, you finish it off by August 8th. And if you want to be really cool, like, score some brownie points, you can invite your professor to this card. Let your professor see how you're doing, how much hard work you're putting. And in fact, and the best part is, as your thesis is growing, you can upload the documents and your professor can comment like Facebook, hey, this is good, or this is bad. Your professor can reply live. What more do you want? Does that answer the question, Professor? How to use this for assignment or something?
This is a really powerful tool.
It is, Professor. It is. In fact, I'll tell you something, Professor. Again, not to be braggy or something, sir, but because of this, I'm so organized. People hate that I'm organized. Because I never miss a deadline. I never forget anything. And and people are like, oh, Jay, you're so organized. We hate you. Any other questions, Professor?
Yeah, there's a question. I want to go to Emmanuel Awa.
Okay.
Abua. Emmanuel, can you activate your microphone? Go ahead.
Oh, Doc, good afternoon, good morning, wherever. Jay, thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. My question is, I'm a teacher in the classroom working with students in the school. Can this software help me in collation of their marks to check their progress, their performance? Is there any way Trello can help? Thank you.
Well, the same, yes, it will help. However, if you're tracking students, the issue is, let's say you have 100 students, it may become too much for Trello, because it's easy for track individual things where I don't know if it's ideal for a student scenario, because students may not know how to use this. So you might end up doing what is called as over management, like where you're using a software, for something which is not designed for it, especially for students. For university students, it might help because they know how to use this software and all. But if you're in a school or something, I'm not sure. It depends on your kids. I don't know if that is the answer you're looking for. So I wouldn't recommend it for a school scenario, though. I would recommend it for a university, like a university professor has some 20, 30 students. They're working on a big project. They all know how to use Trello. They're all educated and old enough. It makes sense to me. But for a school environment, if you're giving access to the students, they might accidentally delete something, like delete everything. And unfortunately, Trello, I'm sorry to say, there's no way to back things up. So you can't restore things. I don't know if that makes sense. But ultimately, I wouldn't recommend it for a school scenario. But I would recommend it for a teacher to manage things where you don't give access to the students. So you can still manage things, but they will never have any access. So you won't have the full benefit, like as you saw in the example, the whole idea of a project management software is everybody has access. So they all can see what is happening and get notified. Does that make sense, Professor Lam?
Yes, there is a question. Is it possible to attach a document to a particular board?
Yes. You can upload as many documents as you want, PDFs, images, Word documents, to every card. It accepts documents and things like that. But don't forget, the free version has some limitations, But then again, if you're uploading too many documents, maybe you shouldn't be using Trello.
Okay, let's go to Dr. Jane Tochukwu.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Talking from Nigeria. Quite an interesting presentation, Jay.
Thank you.
Where I work in Nigeria, we do registration. It's an election management body. We do registration. And the eligible people to register is from 18.
Right.
Now, from 18 years. Now, in INEC, for us to register or after registration, we do data capture in registration,
right.
Biometrics. We do ABIS, which is biometric finger identification.
Right.
Now, in respect to this, going by 18 years of registration, as at last year, we don't have software for dictating underage registration.
Right.
As a web designer, you are current. So I want to ask whether there is any now for dictating underage. There's any software that dictates underage right now, at least from last year, that is 7 months. So is there any software that can dictate underage? Second question is,
go on.
You made mention of the offline transmission, which we do in transmission our accredited results in election. Now we do offline transmission, and this happens when there is no network. So it drops down in the server. When network comes, it drops down in the server or cloud backend. Now, as a software designer, a programmer, is there any way we can be seeing this offline transmission, even if there is no network?
Right then. So I feel like both the questions are related. So I'm going to give one answer there, Jane. So here, what happens here is one direct answer is Trello is not designed for that because it doesn't have any offline capabilities. So you cannot use this for your scenario. Now, the second part of my answer is, see, the kind of scenario you're describing is very common in India. There are places in India where we have similar scenarios. So whenever we build any software for such places, what we use is called, I mean, you probably have it already where you're working. So, we use a CMS, content management solution. So that is what you should be focused on building. And ultimately what we did in India is when we had to face similar circumstances, no, not we had to, we still do. So what we do is we usually equip the edge volunteers or edge employees with mobile apps which have offline caching facilities. Okay. So the idea is they can capture all the data in the world, whether there's internet or not, and that data is stored on their mobile phone offline in the local cache. And then whenever they come to the nearest service center, that's what we have in India. So when they go to these edge cities and towns, they collect all the data, it gets stored on the phone. Now, bad luck, if the phone gets stolen or the phone gets destroyed, there's nothing we can do about it. Assume nothing happens to the phone. The moment they come to the office, they connect to the office internet and all the data gets synchronized from the local cache to the main server. So something similar you will have to do, Dr. Jain. So not Trello. You'll have to figure out a way to use a CMS plus a mobile app which has offline caching capabilities. It's a very common scenario. We have it in India. It's easily solved.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, all right, okay. But you probably have to discuss with the developer. It's a very complex solution, but it is a solution. So yeah, you need a lot of high-end developer work to get this done. It's a massive project, obviously. But if you are working for an NGO or something, you should be able to get in touch with the government and they'll find some vendor. Probably some Indian people will build it because we build everything.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jain.
No problem. Any other questions, guys? Yes.
Yeah, we're go now to Ebenezer Bright Bentham. Ask you to unmute your microphone, Ebenezer Bright. Okay, I don't see that. Let's go to Ahija Wonder. Ahija?
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
You can go ahead with your question.
Good. I thank Mr. Jay for all of his explanation. I'm speaking from Ghana.
Okay.
I would like to know from him, is there any software for an investigation purpose where I am working for now? We are into investigation. Is there any software for assessment and detective purpose? Physically.
Professor Lambert, let me see if I got it right, sir. I believe the speaker is a teacher. He's looking for some solution that can help him manage assessments. Am I right, sir? Do you think that's what he said?
No.
Oh.
What I was saying is there any software for an investigation body where they can also use that same software like the PM software for physical assessment?
I'm not getting, Professor. My apologies.
Yeah, I'm trying to think that if to do like research and investigation, but I'm thinking if it's still a project, it would still be the same software. You would still use Trello. I mean, I don't see how that would be any different from just doing any sort of project where you have like to-do lists and keeping track of things.
I believe it's pretty the same, sir. But both of us could be hearing it not correctly. I'm not able to make much of it, so I'm sorry. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah, I think even if you're doing a process operations management in a business,
Oh, okay.
it's operations management is still kind of project management too, right?
I believe so, Professor. I mean, ultimately, in operation, the difference between operation management and it's a project management is that operation management is more like a live service, so something that happens live. But you would still be using Trello to do the same thing. The only difference is you may be dealing with way too many notifications.
Yeah. There was a question about, what's the difference between project management and the principles of management, like being a manager?
Right. So that is more of a personal thing, isn't it? Now, because again, not bragging, I manage many projects and usually I do a good job. So guys, the simple things, if you are trying to become a good manager, taking from my own experience, by far the most important thing is you know how to use software like this, because these things can really make you fast. And you're always alerted about everything, like ultimately you are the boss. So you need to have all the latest information. That's the first thing. Know how to use technology, learn how to use this, the tips and tricks, everything you have, put a lot of experience. Like my first project, I had no idea what Trello was. So what I did was I just spent the entire weekend just creating new boards, creating new cards, doing dummy things, do that, do this, delete that. That's what I did. I want to become an expert in the software overnight. And eventually I did. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, you gotta take the time out. No amount of software can replace human incompetence. Okay, so just because you have software doesn't mean the software is going to do everything for you. It's up to you to sit down every day for 1 hour, 2 hours, 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening, create all the lists carefully, give it nice titles, add nice descriptions, things like that. Okay, and ultimately make sure that whenever you're setting the due dates, whenever you're linking documents, uploading documents, be careful about where you're putting what. Okay, so those are the main things that help me, Professor. Doing, checking it every day in the morning. So whenever I'm in a project, I have a team responsible to me. Morning I spend an hour, evening I spend an hour. I look at all the notifications. Wherever I'm supposed to reply as a comment or something, I reply to it. If something is wrong, again, very important, I go and talk to that guy. I go and talk to that girl. I tell them, this is wrong. You got to fix this. This is wrong. You got to fix that. And I make sure everything is clean or something. Like if some guy is uploading all kind of unnecessary documents and filling up the Trello, I go and talk to that person, educate them. Don't do this. Don't do that. Stuff like this, Professor. So there's no like a list on what is good or bad, sir, but like everyday life, what is good in everyday life, being communication, keeping it clear, regularity, discipline. So the software ultimately, Professor, is not a replacement for your personal shortcomings. So it only enhances what you already are. So if you're already organized in your life, the software makes you even more organized. If you're disorganized in your life, the software is going to make that worse. So that's what I will tell, Professor. I mean, that's my personal policy or principles.
There's someone saying Opeyemi said that I think what Ahija is trying to say is that he's working for an investigation agency. So they're like maybe like police investigation, something like that. And so is there software that's specific to doing investigations, or would Trello work?
So usually for things like that, I would recommend a combination. Like you still use Trello for main scheduling and details and uploading of documents and stuff like that. But I am sure somewhere somebody would have made what is called, again, I have to go back to what I said before, sir. It all comes back to using some kind of a content management solution. So I do not believe, because investigation is a government police matter, I do not believe these things are publicly available or something. So, if this person is working for a private industry or something, they'll probably have to get it built by, by some developer or something like that. If they're working for a government, I'm sure these things are already available, Professor. So, but they're not publicly available, so I wouldn't know.
Here's an interesting question from Joseph. Thieves broke into his apartment, and then the camera was able to capture them, but unfortunately their faces were blurred. So he took the video to the police and they couldn't identify them. Is there any software that could help define better those blurred section?
Oh, so that only is there in the movies, so I have to be honest here. So that technology doesn't exist yet.
Okay, now let's go to next question. Damien Cabore.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. J, for this wonderful presentation. I'm calling from Burkina Faso, West Africa. My first question is, what makes Trello different from the others? I mean, software project management software like Smartsheet, like Team Gantt and Gantt Pro. What makes Trello different from those software? This is my first question. And the second one, do we have Trello as a download file? Can we use it as a software in my computer, or is only a software as a service? Do we have it
Right,
in
right.
Yeah, this is my second question. Yeah.
Okay, okay. The first question is fairly straightforward. The other brands you mentioned, I do not know them. The only other brands that I have used in some companies are Airtable and Jira. Look,
Okay.
on a fundamental level, sir, I really don't see any difference. It's like when you go and buy a computer, like you have a HP computer or you have a Lenovo computer or something, but ultimately I could literally not make out any difference. So for me, I use Trello because that was a software I was exposed to when I was younger, and
Okay.
it does everything I want to do. So I haven't tried to change since then.
Okay.
So it keeps doing whatever I wanted, sir. So I don't think there's any difference in these things. It's like, again, with tab computers, HP or Lenovo, they both cost the same thing. They both look and feel, even the Apple MacBook, they all look the same these days anyway.
Okay.
So there's no difference. Sir. That's my honest opinion about software services. So I'm used to it. I'm familiar with it. I've been using it for many years now. That's it. There's no other reason why I use it. To answer your second question, it is a live service. So there is no desktop app for Trello. Even if there was a desktop app, it wouldn't make a difference because all the data is online. So there are mobile apps, there are tablet apps and all that. I use all of them, of course, as part of my work. But again, I don't see any difference. So everything, like everything else in life, like your email, everything is on the cloud. So it is what it is.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much there, Damien Cabore. Let's go to Canviro Orcaido.
Hello.
Hello.
Are you hearing my sound now?
Yes, good to see you.
Nice to meet you, Professor Lambert, and all participants. I want to appreciate the presenter. This is an emerging issue, just and thank you. And I have one question. I have many questions, but most of the questions has answered by previous participants. And my question is here that we are evaluating students' assignments, or just writing articles and focus in academic environment. I'm from Ethiopia. I'm a university lecturer, and I'm also a student at AIU. So can we use this software for detecting any plagiarism or similarity indexes in the academic environment? Thank you.
Okay, so the answer is, the simplest answer is no, sir. I don't think Trello is what I would call useful for your student scenario over there. If I were you, I would look at LMS systems, learning management systems. So that your scenario fits perfectly into LMS solutions. Just like how you have Trello, you can go online and find a lot of LMS software. There are many of them are free, although because it is LMS and it involves a database, I don't think you'll find any completely free options. But for your scenario, sir, I would for evaluation and student management and student tracking and things like that, Trello would be totally unsuited. It can help you personally, like to manage your own responsibilities and things like that on a surface level, but you need granular control to manage your student progress. So for that, sir, I would strongly recommend you investigate an LMS. One example I can give you is Moodle. Now, Moodle is free though. It's the only free I've seen in my life. So Moodle, Moodle, is what I would recommend for your specific scenario.
Okay.
Yes, yes. I
Thank you.
wouldn't recommend Trello for that. No, sir. I don't think it's gonna help you there.
I do want to say one thing. I just put into chat an exam, the first exam for the introduction to project management. Now,
Right.
project management as a field of study in the university is much more complicated than, say, just using Trello for project management.
Yes, yes,
Because
yes.
when you study project management, you're actually learning how to identify the resources, how to identify that you
That's
have
right.
enough resources, what kinds of people. You're identifying all these things that you need in a project.
Yes, sir.
Trello is there to help the project manager do project management.
Exactly, sir. Exactly.
Go ahead with that, Jay.
Yeah. So guys, so what Professor Lambert just said is ultimately, Trello is like, I'll take a boxing example, even though obviously I have no idea what boxing is, except what I see in the movies. Like when you see the boxing movies, you see the boxing guy, the Rocky person or the Creed person, they're practicing, they're working out and all those things, right? But ultimately, all that practice, all that knowledge, the planning, the thinking, it only becomes useful when they go to the ring and wear their gloves and do the actual punching. So Trello is ultimately that glove, guys. So if you already know boxing, you already know how to work out, you already know how to maintain your discipline, both emotionally and physically, then you become a good boxer. And the boxing gloves only help you do the actual boxing. So Trello is just that end part. Now you can still box without the gloves, that's okay, but your hands will get crushed. So Trello will help you become a better project manager. So it simply makes you better. As we discussed before, Professor, it's ultimately a tool. Like again, so if you're writing a book or something, you can just write it on a pen or paper. But if you use a writing app like Microsoft Word or something like that, it's far more faster because now the software will try to help.
I just put into chat the book for that exam.
Oh.
So if you want to really study project management, there's a book right there that you can download right from chat. And then once you look at Trello, you're going to be like, oh, wow, all the ways you can use Trello to actually do project management.
Yeah, there you go, Professor. Yes, yes.
So, if you're going to study business, everybody really should study a little bit of accounting, because that's kind of like the medicine part of,
Yes, sir.
to understand the health of a business, read the financial statements. Everybody should study accounting. And also, everybody should study project management. It's just so basic now to really being efficient in business. Go ahead, Jay.
It is, Professor. It is. A lot of times, sir, because I work as an independent businessman or something, it is a way of life for me. So as you said, sir, I mean, of course, I officially learned project management in a university or something. But even if you don't do an MBA or something, it would be useful for everyday life also, guys. But as I told you before, so if you become too good at it, a lot of people won't like you, but that's okay.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is this is really project management. And I think if you're really going to study project management, it's more than just organizing your life. Project management is a real deep study now.
Yes,
and since we're at the university, we want to take it up to that next level and say, study project management.
yes, sir.
And that'll really make it all more powerful for you.
That's the idea, Professor, because when you look at any organization, you have to understand that the foot soldiers, the low-level employees, are always replaceable because they don't have the necessary management skills. So one way to make yourself really valuable is just become better at managing people. The more people you can manage, the more money you make. It's as simple as that.
A couple of the participants wrote into chat that in Africa, project management seems to fail a lot because they're not organized, there's, lack of communication, they don't follow deadlines. Does that happen in India too?
Professor, now I would like to say, I can neither say positive or negative things over there because, I can't say anything good or bad about it. But what I can say, sir, is you can divide things into two parts. So like we have the city side of life in India, like we have some of the most biggest advanced cities in the world, but then we have the countryside of India as well. And another thing, sir, is that before, like I'm talking before the 90s, like when I was just, a young boy or something, we were not using technology all that much, Professor. So there was room for a lot of no accountability. But since the 90s, sir, our government, our people, and also we are the IT shop of the world. So whether we like it or not, software is now in every part of our life, including the government as well. So I would say, sir, from the 90s onwards, I would say what you're talking about has come down. So I would say that things are moving compared to before 90s. So I'd like to divide our country into two parts. So before 90s and after 90s. So when you look at it, for example, Professor, I could go to a really small town in India and I can still get like 100 Mbps of internet connection. I can work like a boss from a very remote place in India. So that's like a project now. Like in India, they decided like, you know what, we are an IT country. We're gonna have internet everywhere. So that's the response I can give you. So like after 90s, since we started using more and more technology and we became like the software shop for the entire world, we are having less blowback and less disappointments. So that's what I would like to say. So, I think what happened, sir, is that in the 90s, something happened to our country. There are many, many things. There's like a lot of economic stuff happened, political stuff happened. I believe something similar is overdue for the African continent. So we just got to wait it out. Now it happened to us in 90s. Nobody knows why it happened, but it happened. So now we just have to wait for something similar.
For the students here, if you learn this tool of how to use Trello with project management, it's going to make you so valuable in so many jobs that you can do.
So it would, because so like one thing is, I always believe that the more challenging an environment is and you can achieve some success there, imagine what happens when you come out of that challenging environment and you become even more valuable. So,
I mean, let's brainstorm for a second. I mean, if you're a counselor and you have clients, you have a board for one client, talking about their issues, things you're working on, some of your techniques, some things you might want to research to help with the therapy, right? Or if you're in construction, you could have a board for a house you're building, different projects, different contractors you're working with. Did you get the contract done? Did you include that in the contract? All these, and then, Jay, what other examples can you think of as actually using Trello in business?
So in business, you said, any business, Professor, any business, suppose you're running a restaurant, then you would obviously have, you have to worry about daily services. You have to worry about paying your employees on time. You have to worry about getting the deliveries in the morning. You have to worry about taking out the garbage at night, electricity bills, taxes that need to be done. So anything which has a time and a date attached to it, anything in life which has a date and a time, anything which has date and a time, you will be able to kind of make it better with this software. So, and also, so as I mentioned before, I use it for my personal life as well. So if you can use something for your daily life, you can definitely use it in any sort of commercial environment. And of course, we're only talking about Trello here, but I'm not going to say you only have to use Trello. There are a lot of such software out there. Just use whatever is available in your city or in your country and make the most of it. And as Professor Lambert suggested, take a course in project management. If that is out of your reach, then there are books available. Professor included a book as well. Just read. And I'm telling you, wherever you go, you'll always see there's always a lack of good project managers. So that could become a career.
Okay, let's go to Etsy Paul Azameti. He's been trying to ask a question for a while. Go ahead, activate your microphone, Etsy Paul Azameti. Let's try that again.
Good afternoon.
There you go.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yeah, my name is Eche Paul Azamati. I'm calling from Ghana. Yes, you thank our lecturer, that was our teacher Jay. We thank you. You understand all your questions, everything that you explained to us. We understand. God bless you. And I learned a lot of things from it today. And
Good.
The question that I want to ask is not concerning about what you learn. I understand everything that you learn. I am not graduating now. I am not graduating now. So my course is computer engineering. I did computer engineering. So I learned a lot of things. I supposed to graduate, that was last year, but I couldn't get the tuition fee to pay. So I was told that they said completion money is not, that's graduation fee. Graduation fee is not adding to the tuition fee. And moreover, when I started registration, they normally told me that graduation
Professor, I don't understand.
fee is added to the tissues.
Professor, I didn't get that. I'm not sure that is a
I think
question.
the sound froze. I didn't catch the last part of the question.
Okay.
I would say, Etsy Paul, if you have something specific about administration, you can email me.
I think it's a something else, Professor. I'm not
it's
sure
like
it's
it's not dealing with the project management software, I think.
right,
So if you have a
right.
question about that, just email me or email your tutor and let us know what the issue is, and then we can work on it.
Okay.
Okay, let's go to Olasupo Ademosu. This might be the last question, I think.
Okay, no problem.
You are giving me to contribute. I'd like to thank Jay Vijayasimha for a job well done. She has delivered very well, and I have learned something new about this Trello. And I'm happy that the Professor Lambert has requested him to come back again. And I believe when he comes back again, he's going to dwell much on Trello, because it's an addition that will make one to be a project manager. We make one to be a better project manager. You know, in the past, the architect, when you talk of the construction site, you have the architect, you have the structural engineers, you have the quantity surveyor, you have the M&E, and the architect used to coordinate. But with the advent of project management, everyone will now concentrate on his own aspect of the project. If you're an architect, concentrate on architecture. If you're a civil engineer, concentrate on civil engineering. If you're a mechanical, you concentrate, so that the project manager now is able to coordinate all their efforts. But the new dimension he introduced is Trello, which is very, very interesting, which I support for Lambert, that he should come back again and dwell so much on it, because that one is going to enhance the practice of project management. There's one thing to know the theory, but to be able to deliver, you need tools like Trello that will assist you to make good delivery. Once more, I say thank you very much. God bless you. You've done well, and you continue to do well. I thank God that I'm part of the audience for your presentation. Remain blessed. Thank you.
Thank you for your kind words, sir. Thank you. Yes.
Welcome.
Professor Lambert, I think he was, I believe the speaker was thanking us, not really a question, I believe.
That does seem to be the case. That does seem to be true.
Yes.
So I'm putting up the links to the different softwares that you are recommending. The one I don't have yet is Jira. Let's see, is this Atlassian.com?
Yeah, that's the one, Professor. That's the company that owns Trello, and Jira.
So maybe it's this one here. It's jira.atlassian.com.
Yes, sir. They are trying to combine that with their main company, sir. So the Atlassian is the main company. Trello is one of their products. Jira is one of their products. Jira is the big one that's mainly meant for really big corporations. Trello is mainly meant for daily users, small teams, schools, and startups.
Airtable, from what I see, looks a lot like Trello.
I said they all look the same, Professor, just like computers and cars. You know, like ultimately, can we even tell a difference between a TV from one company and another company? Do they all look the same?
Yeah. And okay, someone's asking about this recording. All the recordings will be available in about 2 to 3 days on your student platform. Just go on the left in the quick menu under AIU Live Classroom. Click on there, and you'll be able to open up the past live classes, and you'll see a link to actually download the presentations. Okay, Jay, I think we have come to the end. Thank you so much. Oh, we want you back talking more about this.
No problem, Professor. So I'm gonna wrap it up here then. So guys, there you go. So if you have any questions, just Google my name. You know, I'm not a celebrity or something, but if you Google my name, you will find me. Go ahead, follow me on everything: YouTube, Insta, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever you want. I'm everywhere. So just go ahead, Google my name, follow me wherever you want. You have a question, drop me in on an email or wherever you find me on social media. Other than that, I'm all set, guys. I'll give the stage back to Professor Lambert.
Okay, Jay, thank you so much. You are free to go right now. And if everybody knows how to get in contact with you, I'll take over now, and I'll be answering questions about academic things.
Oh, okay, then I'll leave then. Okay, all right,
Yeah.
Professor. I'll see you next time, sir.
Big hug, Jay. And find some good movies.
I will, Professor. I will. I'll see you next time, sir.
All right, bye-bye.
I think we should say thank you to him. Every one of us should thank him. Every one of us.
No problem. No problem.
Here, yeah, let me allow
Guys, see you
everybody.
next time.
Everybody can unmute their microphones real fast to say bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.